We call this a capitulation. Cancel all orders. Even Kramer doesn't know what to think. They're going to probably halt trading. We told you that we didn't want to see you get hooked. And you may be hooked. Look at that. Look at it.
Good evening, stock traders, and welcome to Stock Traders Talk Radio here on a beautiful Monday night, January the 20th January the 30th. Wow. January the 30th, 2012. I'm your host, STT. Joining me on the program tonight, I have Haas.
Hey, Mike. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Messing up the date, but got it back on track there.
Are you down from your high from the show last night yet?
Oh, it was an exciting show last night. We got another one lined up tonight, so it's been a high for 2 days now. It's fantastic stuff.
Awesome.
Also joining me on the program tonight, we have Hans.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to be here.
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself, sir?
I'm hanging in there.
That's good to hear. Also on the program tonight, Pacific Kia is joining us.
Aloha, traders, STT. Let's fight on that date thing. You got a lot on your plate, man.
20th, 30th, same difference.
Yep.
Also joining us on the radio program is Cop.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
I'm fantastic, sir. How about yourself?
Oh man, I'm on cloud nine.
Cloud nine.
Tremendous amount of business has happened today, and for the audience, I want to thank all of you firsthand. If I could buy you all a beer, I would.
Okay, now last night's exciting CEO interview, we covered ICPA. As we strive here at Stock Traders Talk Radio to bring the most exclusive CEO interviews possible, we have done that again tonight, and we are very excited about this interview coming up. As usual, Mr. Kopp handles our interviews. Mr. Kopp, take it away, sir.
Well, thanks, Mike. For those of you that don't know, I just kind of want to recap a little bit of history. We did a stock spotlight on this stock. I believe it was the 24th. And, we did probably about a 35-minute DD session on the company and really, really broke it down. So reference back to that if you need to, but realize that during this interview, I'm not going to go into those type of questions and those type of details. With that being said, we're here with Mr. Roy Warren, the CEO of Attitude Drinks, Inc., stock ticker ATTD. Welcome to the show, Mr. Warren.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're pretty excited to have you. This was one of those focused attention type things where get him on the show. So we drove to that direction. Our audience pretty much has an understanding of what your company does, but I'm sure there's probably a lot of new listeners. So how about if you give a short recap of what Attitude Drinks is and a brief history.
Sure. We developed Attitude Drinks a little over 4 years ago with a view of developing what we think is really participating in, I should say, what we think is the kind of final frontier in the beverage community. There have been many, many different kinds of drinks introduced that became dominant in their space. Arizona iced tea, Red Bull, vitamin water, many other areas and various different kinds of drinks. And interestingly enough, milk has been one of those areas where there has not really become a dominant brand, certainly in the functional milk space. And there's a lot of reasons about that for that, and we can talk about them. But there are a number of entry barriers, and so really what's happened is we've seen an opportunity with the natural goodness of what I call Mother Nature's most perfect food to be able to really exploit the good stuff and deal with the entry barriers associated with introducing milk products and really become the leader in developing functional milk products. The one that we've recently introduced, about a year and a half ago, is our Phase 3 recovery drink, and that's the one that's really catching on now, and we're very, very excited about the attributes that it has. We really do see it as the most advanced protein drink in the marketplace, and I think it's the answer to the next generation of sports drinks.
You had an incredible interview on smallcapvoice.com with Mr. Stuart Smith, and we have the highest respect for that man. He does a really, really good job last week, and you went into a lot of details and all that. I don't want to double up on some of those things, so I'm going to dive pretty deep if that's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. And when we do our interviews and certain things like that, we come from a trader's perspective, and that's really the approach I want to take. And when I did the DD and the guys, we all got together and we're diving through this whole thing, the Bravo brands and your previous company and your resume, if you will, was like a huge topic. I mean, that was a pretty powerful company, and a lot of people did very well in that stock in the past. What I'd like you to do is let's kind of dive deep into your history of Bravo and basically how that ended and how you got where you are.
Sure. Well, I was one of the founders of Bravo back in 1997. I was actually the one that put together the initial funding for the company, and in 2000, the board decided to make me CEO. There was a change in direction in the company, and we decided to really go after this whole notion of making a beverage out of milk. The distinction there, of course, is that milk has been treated for the most part as a food over the years, and I saw an opportunity for moving what had been considered a food into a functional beverage, and that was what Bravo was really doing from 2000 on. In the summer of 2005, we had finally knocked down as many of the entry barriers as we could at the time with the technology that we had. And we actually had developed and introduced the very first shelf-stable, fortified milk product in a plastic resealable, consumer-friendly bottle. And as we did that, we were also developing co-brands with companies like Marvel Comics and Master Foods, the Milky Way, Three Musketeers kinds of brands. And so we had some pretty instant awareness for the brand, and we had technology that no one else had introduced at that point. And right about the time we started reaching out for distribution and for chained accounts, we were contacted. Actually, I contacted, and we ultimately did a deal with Coca-Cola Enterprises. Coca-Cola Enterprises, as you probably know, is the bottler, the largest bottler of the Coca-Cola product. And they, in the United States at that time, they represented 70% of all Coca-Cola sold in the U.S. Mm-hmm. They wanted to do a deal with us. It was almost impossible to ignore, given the magnitude of their distribution capabilities. I mean, they had over 50,000 delivery trucks, for example. And so we were delighted, and we did a deal with Coca-Cola Enterprises, and we found out over time that was, although very exciting and certainly adding a lot of value to the stock, that the relationship between Coke Enterprises and Coke North America was problematic. We became known as the poster child for what they call renegade brands, that is, brands that the bottlers took on that the parent company was not a party to. So it became obvious to us about a year into the relationship that we were not able to maximize our distribution capability because we didn't have the support of Coca-Cola North America. Even though the distribution system was controlled by our partner, there were certain selling tracks and certain calendar marketing agreements and all kinds of ways where Coca-Cola North America needed to help us, and we weren't getting that help. So I was, while our sales had gone up nearly tenfold, they were not anywhere near what we had expected them to be. I was in the process of managing that problem and working with other distributors to move the distribution away because, you see, if we weren't able to sell an account for whatever reason because we couldn't get Coke North America support, we were unable to sell the account at all because our deal with Coke Enterprises was an exclusive one. So we were continually running into this roadblock. And make a long story short, the the relationship became difficult. I was working with the people that I knew and had a terrific relationship with them, but my board became frustrated, and some large shareholders became frustrated. And before I knew it, in April of 2007, 10 years later, I was fired because I would not agree with some of the things that the board of directors wanted to do. Most specifically, they wanted the company to go after Coca-Cola, and I just thought that it wasn't a great idea to be suing the largest beverage brand in the world. So I was let go and found myself with a unique situation. I had learned an awful lot about the beverage industry. I had learned from Coca-Cola Enterprises what was happening with the bubbly beverage business, that is to say the real Coke and regular Pepsis of the world were declining in unit volume by somewhere between 3 and 5% a year. So the functional drinks, or the new age beverages, if you will, were growing rapidly, and I saw this enormous opportunity with milk, but no longer was with Bravo. So I decided that the only thing to do was to start over again and try to do a few things better and go a little further down the line in terms of functionality so that we could get a better premium for the product and get out of the commodity pricing that milk generally faces. And the rest, as we say, is history.
Gotcha. Now, when you have that type of situation, and I appreciate you sharing that with the audience. That was pretty eye-opening, transparent. When you build a company and you build a concept and certain things like that, I would assume that you're probably putting your heart and soul and everything you got into it. I mean, is that accurate?
Well, that certainly was the case with me. I'm that guy that rode a company all the way up and all the way back down and never sold. So I didn't cash in on my position. I think I sold a grand total of $35,000 or $36,000 worth of Bravo stock within about 6 months of when I left the company, and I had invested far more than that, both privately and in the public market. So I did not walk away wealthy from that deal by any stretch, and had to start over. I mean, I really did have to start over one way or the other, and I saw an opportunity. I mean, you don't pour your heart and soul into something unless you really, really believe you can do it. I see the opportunity today clearer than ever. The technology has evolved, thank God, so that we can resolve some of the problems that we weren't able to solve back then. And I learned a lot. I mean, you learn a lot about no matter how you endeavor in a business, you're going to make mistakes. And I learned one very important lesson, and that is that I watched Hansen with the Monster drink build an enormous business and dominate. They actually have gotten to the point where they sell more in the United States Monster than Red Bull does. And they did it with independent distributors. They have hundreds and hundreds of distributors as opposed to one giant one. And that's a lesson I learned, because it was arguably the demise of Bravo that we had one major distributor. Not that Coke was a bad distributor by any stretch. It just wasn't a workable business relationship.
Sure. I mean, makes perfect sense. And from the lessons learned perspective, I'm sure you have that your business plan, your strategic objectives that you have now are very pinpoint, and where you're concentrating on a lot of accuracy and to do things the right way. And I think you know it. I mean, is that safe to assume?
Well, there's no question about it. In fact, my personality is such that I see 15 different ways to use the technology that we've developed here with this great bottle and the filtration process and all the functional scientific ways that we developed this product. And, I'd love to be out there doing a meal replacement and a kid's product and an adult product and an Ensure knockoff and, something for sarcopenia and something for diabetes. That's just my personality and my nature. But, we have had a very difficult time raising capital and had to stick to our knitting and be laser focused on doing one thing and one thing right. And that's what we've done. We have developed, in my opinion, the most advanced protein drink in the industry, and we've got 2 SKUs of product that we're selling right now, and we're sticking to it until we've brought this company to cash flow.
It's one thing that's highly unusual is the fact that normally when you're that successful on something and you kind of get knocked down, to go back at the same industry and with the drive and determination that you have is pretty impressive. I mean, what's driving you?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, for better or worse. I started my first college when I was a senior. My first business when I was a senior in college, and I've had some ups and downs along the way, and I've been humbled through it all. What really drives attitude is, I got a PhD in milk as a beverage at Bravo, and I felt that we had just reached the point where we fully understood the opportunity, how to do it, how not to do it, the mistakes not to make again. And then I was catapulted out of that. So for me, one would almost ask, what else would I do? And, I could have gone and got a job, I guess, but that after I was 50 years old at the time. So at that stage of the game, the entrepreneurial experience that I've had really was most useful for me to rebuild the company. And we had made some money for some institutions, and those guys were willing to finance us to get started again. That's before the summer of 2008 when everything melted down. But prior to that, I felt pretty confident about our ability to raise capital, and all I had to do was build a business and get it public and start selling product. And, of course, we went through the mother of all recessions in the last 4 years, but nonetheless, we made it through it, and our capital structure has been a little bit beaten up, but we have got a spectacular company with great people and a wonderful product.
Let's talk about that if you don't mind. Debt is one of those things where and I've interviewed a lot of CEOs, and we don't really go into it to a degree. And mainly because a lot of people, especially stock traders, some know how it works, but most don't. Can you give us a little background on exactly, how does the debt get created and how do you utilize it and those type of things?
You mean debt as relates to capital formation?
Yeah,
for a company like ours? Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
Correct.
Normally when an institution wants to make an investment in a company, outside of the sort of private equity guys or the venture capitalists, normally institutions are going to want to invest in some sort of a equity-based note or convertible instrument. And certainly that was the case with my investors. So both at Bravo and again here, our company has been funded almost exclusively with convertible debt instruments. And that means that these securities have a certain conversion price or a certain conversion formula, depending on the type of note that you have. And investors will make the investment, and either you file a registration statement to provide ultimately liquidity for them, or you simply allow the tack or the timing to pass. That is to say that the Rule 144 timing allows for either 6 months or 1 year holding periods. So you bring the money in to the company. The company then issues a convertible security, usually a note, and those notes are convertible into common shares. Initially, they would be restricted if they converted, but ultimately, once they have 144 time under their belt, then they have freely tradable shares once they convert into them.
Gotcha. Now, I appreciate you going into that. I know most CEOs wouldn't do that, and you have the personality where you're definitely transparent and driven, and I appreciate that. When we did the DD session last week, we kind of went into the filings to the degree, and we saw some of them, and we understood exactly where, from a stock perspective, things are going. So there's kind of like two avenues here. Is one, many of the people listening are shareholders or potential investors, and they're thinking stock, future, and all that, and everybody invests for very different reasons, and some to flip for tomorrow, some in the short term, some in the long term, and I'm the type of guy where I invest in companies for the drive and passion and the determination of a CEO, and that. I picked up on that a long time ago, long before this conversation, before you and I actually talked. And many people do, believe it or not. There's a lot of people out there that respect you for what you're actually doing. Because it's not easy getting back up on the horse. There's no doubt about it, and you're making all the right moves, and it's pretty impressive. Now, from a shareholder perspective, and a day trader, if you will, your stock's really volatile right now, and having some very big channels, if you will, and a lot of opportunity for individuals to make money. That's why they invest. And with that, comes the your 144s and certain shares that are actually going to the market. I guess the big question I would ask you is, based off everything I just said, when would you say you would be cash flow positive?
Well, I haven't forecasted that, but I will tell you that our objective is to get there by the end of the year, and I would be delighted if we got there by the third quarter. I'm a big believer in getting fundamentals right first, and that may be hard to believe having researched all of our capital structure, but nonetheless, our business has been built based on getting our fundamental structure first. And very much like an athlete would, if you're a gymnast, you've got to get the basic fundamentals right before you can start doing all the fancy tricks. And that's true of almost any athletic endeavor, and I think that's true of our business. So we've gotten our trademarks registered, and we've gotten access to the finest co-packer in the United States, and we have access to the very best eco-friendly bottle in the industry. And we've formulated this product for a year and a half before we ever produced it. And we have done clinical studies to prove that our theories were accurate. So we've done a lot of the basics right, and that's taken a lot more time and a lot more money, frankly, than I anticipated it would when we started this thing in the fall of 2007. And now we've got it right. We've got the product in the marketplace. It took us almost a year to reach some level of sort of acceptance or commercial viability in the marketplace, but with names like Walgreens and others out there, we think we've now done that. We were fortunate enough about a year ago to team up with a nice 200-store food mart chain up in Boston, which is right in the middle of College USA, as you know. And Tedeschi's has been a very, very nice place for us to be able to prove our point, and sales have been very encouraging there. So we're now at a place with the introduction of people like Walgreens that we think that we're going to start to see this authorization happening for phase 3 throughout a number of distributors and household name retail accounts.
This Walgreens thing's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Well, it is for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is it's a gigantic national account. They happen to be a very fine business to work with. They're the kind of partner that anybody would want to deal with. We're excited about the 800 stores in Florida because not only does it give us access to every single location in Florida with the exception of the Panhandle, where the Florida region doesn't cover the Panhandle and Walgreens, but the other thing that's really neat about Walgreens for us is that it gives us a platform to prove our point throughout all different kinds of demographics. That is, I can tell you what our bullseye demographic for phase 3 is, but it's going to be really powerful if I can say that we're doing well in Walgreens throughout the state, because obviously if that's the case, then it's not going to be a hard sell to bring on other channels. In other words, someone that shops at a C-store is also likely to shop at a Walgreens. So, or a grocery store for that matter. So it's not a reach to assume if it does well in Walgreens, it's going to do well in virtually every channel of trade.
Now, would you consider this a pivotal point for your company, or was this a game changer for you?
Well, I knew it was coming eventually. It's not like we won a lottery ticket. I knew it was a matter of time, but we had to stay in the business. And, as you said, you look at our capital structure, you can see we had to do some pretty tough deals to stay alive. But we knew the value of what we had, and I was convinced that once we were able to get the consumer an opportunity to vote, you've got distributors you got to sell to, you got retailers like Walgreens that have to sell it, but ultimately the consumer is the only one that matters. And if that consumer doesn't get a chance to see it on the shelf and buy it, then you can't prove your point. So we had to get through this distribution channel and the retail channel in order to get to the consumer, and we finally have done that. So I'm not surprised. It's not like we finally got lucky. What's exciting to me is that we stayed in the game long enough to be able to have this kind of exposure. So I think now, I've been talking to people for years about the day when the revenues turned up like a hockey stick, and I think we're in the year where that's going to happen. There is no reason in the world why we should have to grow incrementally or on a straight line. We've got capacity to supply literally the whole country if we wanted to. We're a teeny little player right now in the world of Alaska, and they could do far more business than we're doing with them at this point. And whether we've got 10 2,000 or 20,000 accounts, we can supply them. So we've done the basic groundwork. We've finally reached the place where we got the attention of the big guys, if you will, and I think that we've really got an exciting opportunity. The facts are there is no other product like ours in the industry, and finally, even though this has been a very difficult environment, as you guys well know, to develop an innovative product, because innovative is by definition risky because it's never been done before.
Right, sure. And
nobody's taking any risk during a depression. So, we've been through a tough experience here, but I think we've emerged, and now that albeit I'm still disgusted that the stock price is as low as it is, at least it's trading some volume now, and we've got some attention on it. And I think as we start to perform now and execute the business plan, I think that we're going to see a right sizing, if you will, of the capital structure. I've been on the other side of that coin. I know what it's like to have a stock trading for more than I think is fair value, which happened when we signed up with Coca-Cola back at Bravo, and I would argue that the reverse is true here.
It's very interesting points, and thank you for those recaps in those areas. I would also argue that distribution, I come from a very big logistics background, and the distribution piece is normally always the piece that people don't think much about, but I would argue it's one of the most important pieces of the whole thing. I mean, can you dive into that a little bit?
Well, it's critically important, and I'll give you an example why. Theoretically, you could sell direct to a grocery store chain, for example. In fact, many grocery store chains would prefer that you don't use the direct store delivery system, but you sell through what they call the warehouse system. The problem with that is then you're dependent upon the stores, because everybody wants just-in-time inventory, right? Nobody wants to keep any inventory in their back cooler or in their warehouse. So if you don't have someone going to the store on your behalf, checking the inventory, merchandising the product, making sure that somebody didn't steal your shelf space, and delivering additional product, then you're at the mercy of the store handling it, and that's bad enough in and of itself that you're not proactive. You're driving through the rearview mirror. But worse than that, inevitably that means you have out-of-stock conditions, right? If you're waiting for it to sell before you order, then by definition you're going to be out of product. And the worst thing you can do if you're trying to build a brand is get a consumer enthused about a brand that they constantly can't find. So the direct store delivery system that we're developing here is second to none. I mean, it's absolutely the best of the best that we've been able to bring on, albeit we've just begun. But the people that we're bringing on, especially for the Walgreens business in Florida, are first-class direct store delivery distributors, and you will see that merchandising is one of the things that comes with it, and it's critical to your original point. It's critical, especially when you're trying to develop a new brand.
Well, what tools and plans does Attitude Drinks have in place to open up huge new distribution channels and retail sales such as the recent and impressive stuff you talked about with Walgreens?
Well, we're going to do a fair amount of guerrilla marketing. We're going to do some radio promotion. We're doing some sports. We're talking to a number of sports celebrities, and we have to kind of walk before we run because we still don't have a load of cash. So while we're getting closer to cash flowing, we're not there yet. So we still need working capital to get through this and support the distributors, but we do have a group that is working with us that are a really top-notch sales organization called Proform. They're guys that were with far larger companies than Little Attitude in the past, and they know all the buyers and all the important places around the country. So we're working with them and supporting them as best we can, and using our own sales force to lever as best we can. But we're not going to have a major blowout marketing campaign. We just can't afford it.
Sure. Now, well, let's talk about phase 3. I mean, let's talk about the product itself. I mean, what makes it so unique?
Well, you're probably familiar with Muscle Milk. Muscle Milk is the clear leader and probably the pioneer of the protein, ready-to-drink protein business in the United States. And interestingly enough, there isn't a drop of milk in Muscle Milk. So I know from experience, and there's been a tremendous amount of study done in the last 5 or 6 years, about the nutrient benefits of milk, especially as relates to post-exercise recovery or the science associated with refueling the body, specifically lean muscle mass building. And there are just so many wonderful things about milk that can deal with the scientific demand one's body has in post-exercise recovery. So we have simply exploited that. What we do is we use an ultrafiltration process, and we filter out the empty calories that are in milk, and therefore we reduce the sugar content that's naturally in milk right out of the cow. And in doing so, we super concentrate the proteins and the electrolytes and the calcium and and we dial in the right level of carbohydrates to properly synthesize that protein. So in doing so, we've got this great tasting product. It tastes like milk because we're not doing anything to alter it. We're not adding any protein that makes it taste gamey. We're simply concentrating what's already there. And so we got a great tasting product that has all the attributes that a protein drink requires, as well as the scientifically balanced carbohydrate to protein level, and we put it in a super green, eco-friendly aluminum bottle that's very consumer-friendly, chills fast, chills cold, resealable, and it basically deals with all of the obstacles that I learned at Bravo we needed to deal with to try to maximize the effectiveness of a product like this.
Yeah, I mean that's really good stuff. And that when we did our DD session, we kind of went real deep in a lot of different stuff. One of the hosts is a nutritionist by trade, and and he couldn't speak enough about your product. So clearly, you passed that test during that due diligence session. There's now when it comes to the marketing piece, and I understand that right where you are right now. You got the distribution thing, and you had news today. Let's talk about that before we go on to my point that I was going to make.
Well, you had asked me if this was an inflection point. It clearly is. I mean, with the Walgreens business, we're able to attract the kind of distributors that we want in Florida, and we announced one of them today. J.J. Taylor is a spectacular, mostly beer distributor in the Florida markets. They go everywhere. They've got well over 10,000 accounts. And they're in 17 of the counties in the state of Florida. I think there are 68 counties in the state, and they're in 17 of them. So we have finally finished up the documentation with them, and we actually are shipping tomorrow our first order to them, which will be initially placed in the Walgreens, and then obviously we hope that as they carry the product to the Walgreens in their stores, in their trucks, that they'll be stopping at other accounts that'll find an interest in Phase 3. Certainly, that's their intent, and that's where the leverage is from something like this. We know we have some good ideas about what the initial order will be with Walgreens, or we have the initial order with Walgreens, so I know exactly what that is, and we have some pretty good estimates about what the reorders will be. But where the leverage is where else could this distribution system sell Phase 3, and how fast will that ramp up?
Yeah, this is always the amazing stage, right? When you have your business plan and you have those forecasting models where one's at this level of distribution, one's at the middle level of distribution, and one's at the higher level of distribution. What's your max capacity and those type of things. Right now you can tell you're at that stage where you this potentially can go from low to high very quickly in a matter of days. You just don't know,
and
right?
I'll tell you, it reminds me a little bit of that commercial you see on TV where the guy opens up the new internet business and he's breathing in a bag trying to keep from choking because the volume comes in. I mean, we'd love to see that happen. And one of the things that was a real problem for me in my previous company, and it was the kind of problem people like to have, but nonetheless it was real. And that is that when we first opened the doors or opened the business with Koch Enterprises, we couldn't begin to keep up with the demand, and we didn't have enough capacity. Our capacity was very limited because of the type of technology that we were using to create that plastic resealable bottle. And so we had to slow down Koch Enterprises almost as soon as we started until we were able to increase our capacity. And then by the time we had the capacity cranked up, we had to spend a lot of money on it. We had to sign some pretty extensive contracts, and by the time we got the capacity up, we realized we had a problem with Coca-Cola shortly thereafter. But the point is, in this particular scenario, we do not have those kinds of scale issues. OATCA can scale this thing up fast and is quite willing to do so.
I kind of want to recap a little things with what we've talked about. The history of the Bravo and where you got to now and added drinks and those type of things. And I'm sure in the past there's been some form of, toxic financing, reverse splits, all those things, and, many of which you're probably, not staying from the top of the building screaming about. But you're at that stage right now where all of that is changing. Is that a safe assumption?
Well, the toxic converts are still there, if that's what you mean. But what changes is the valuation is so, the beauty of the beverage business is it trades for the most part as a function of top line, not bottom line. And frankly, if you want to hire a CEO to go wring the nickels out of a company that's been around for 100 years, it needs to have an increase in earnings but not sales. I'm not your guy. I'm much more interested in trying to build companies and build growth and build an exciting company like we believe we can here. And yet I still, I'm not altruistic. I'd really like to make some money at it, and the way that I can make money is the same way that investors can make money, and that is for the stock price to go up. And ultimately, beverage brands trade as a function of top-line growth. So the answer is, if we can get top-line really, really moving, we will right-side our valuation to the point where these convertible notes are no longer going to be relevant. And when you're struggling and you're not doing any business to speak of, and you're trying to build through that fundamental development that I talked about earlier, then that stuff becomes really, really important. But when the business becomes real, especially in the beverage business, people start looking at the value. And beverage brands are hard to develop. There's a lot of failures in the beverage business, and that's why when you've got one that works, they're worth a lot of money, and that's kind of where I think we are.
With the goal and the big pressure that you have right now on driving for revenues, I mean, you're really pursuing them really, really hard. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, but you remember, we don't have 15 different SKUs in the pipeline that we're trying to develop, and that's our job. That's not just job one. That's the only job we've got. We've developed phase 3. We've got all the hard work done. We can produce it as much as we need. Now it's just a matter of selling it. Absolutely.
So tell me, with the passion and the excitement that you have with this, I mean, what is really driving you right now? I mean, what's the thing that's just making you push?
Well, some would argue that I have been a winner and a loser 2 or 3 times in my career. No more visibly than when my stock went from 3 or 4 cents at Bravo to $1.40, and everybody was making a lot of money, and people were recommending me for CEO of the year, which was laughable, but nonetheless, it's true. And I haven't looked so smart since then. So, beyond the fact that we've got a business that we want to build, and we want to reward all of our partners that have helped us develop this, like OATCA and like the Proform people that have helped us sell it. We want everybody that's involved to be rewarded by this. You asked me specifically, and the answer is that I like to win. And, sometimes when you're losing, the only thing you can do is hang in there and stay in the game, and that's what we've done. And we've developed something that's really meaningful. But I'm looking forward to demonstrating that I wasn't quite as smart as everybody thought I was at Bravo, and I certainly wasn't as dumb as I looked like I was 2 years ago.
Understand. Hey, Roy, you have a tremendous following base, and just some great shareholders and some people that truly, truly believe in you. And when we've done our due diligence and those type of things, there's a lot of people out there that are that are basically counting on you to succeed, and they're in your corner, believe it or not. I mean, there's a bunch of them. If you had an opportunity to talk to them as a whole, what would you tell them?
Well, the facts are there's no magic. You don't become CEO and get a manual on how to build a business to be successful. And nobody has any idea what the obstacles are going to be. If I had known Lehman Brothers was going to melt down 2 weeks after I went public, I wouldn't have gone public when I did. But you deal with the cards you're dealt. And so what I would say to those people is, we are going to stay with this. We're going to stay the course. We have got a product that is second to none in the space that we're developing. It's a category that's growing. Everybody understands that healthy beverages and functional drinks are growing, and the empty-calorie refreshment drinks are going down in volume. And so, we've got something really interesting. I don't think there are very many people out there that don't agree that we're at a unique place. The question is, can we execute? And the answer is, one way or the other, we're going to execute. And it may take us longer than we wanted to. It's certainly taken us a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But you've got a management team here that's dedicated. We've got fine people that have been in their respective industries for 25 plus years. And we are, we're not a bunch of kids. In fact, we don't have anybody here that's a kid. We've got, all of us have been in our business, in our respective businesses for decades. So, we're going to stay with this because we are really convinced that we've got a winning brand, and management is going to do the best we can. We're going to make mistakes, certainly, but we're not going to make the same mistakes twice. We can assure you that. And the product speaks for itself, I think, at this point.
No, I'm with you on that, and that makes perfect sense. Roy, the next thing I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, I'd like to bring in one of the avid shareholders that's actually out there on the message board. Really, for those of you that are listening, know Rustler is a very dedicated shareholder of yours, and is out there beating the mat and those type of things. I'm one of your big fans with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring him in on and just see if he has any additional questions. Russell, you're on?
Nope, just give me a minute. I got to call him.
It's amazing stuff, though, there, Roy. I mean, when you sit there and you look at, business from what it is, it's not always easy, and you're absolutely right. It's kind of like it's one of those things where the obstacles and milestones that hit you.
There he is.
Hey, Rustler, how are you?
Good. Hey, Roy, this is Adam. How you doing?
Hey, Adam. Nice to speak with you.
I just wanted to pull you in, and we've been interviewing Roy here for a while, and we've gone pretty deep on a lot of stuff that no CEOs would normally go.
No, it's true, and I consider Roy a good friend, and I communicate with him pretty often, and I think he's a little bit modest. Roy, with your Walgreens, I mean, don't you think the opportunity to expand to other states is there?
Oh, absolutely. But the facts are the product still isn't in the shelves yet. We can't. We know the potential. I know the fit. We've been in maybe 40 or 50 Walgreens over the last year or so in Independence where they allowed us in, and we know the product sells, but we haven't proven it statewide. So I'm excited about it for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is it's a very special program that Walgreens is doing in Florida, and it's in a special cooler in the very front checkout section of the Walgreens store. So everybody that is going to be walking by one of these coolers to check out is going to have the opportunity to buy Phase 3, and it's going to be in the cooler with Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Red Bull, and one other brand. So there's a very, very unique opportunity. If somebody's going to buy a Coke on the way out of a Walgreens, they're going to have to open the same cooler door that Phase 3's in. So I think we've got a really high probability of success there. The product's good, but the real estate in that store is spectacular.
Absolutely. And, I mean, as you know, and to the listening audience, I live out west, so there's no stores here that have it. But I've ordered 23 cases of your product simply because I just love the product, and so does my family and my kids and friends. And so, I mean, there's a lot of people that when they try that product, they want more of it. They want to know how they can get it, where they can get it. I direct them online, and there's a grassroots movement of people that really are interested in this product that are starting to be nationwide.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We did a study at the University of Florida. I did a speech up there a few years ago, and they called me and asked if they could do a study in the MBA marketing program up there on Attitude, and actually on Phase 3. And they did that, and the one of the resounding facts, two very important things came out of that study. One was that the students were looking for a product like this specifically looking for a post-exercise recovery aid. And another was that they were quite willing to pay between $3 and $4 a bottle, even though these are college kids that generally don't have a lot of money. And the other thing that was, stark and interesting, and it's another to your point about Walgreens, they said, but we need to know where it is, and we need to be able to walk to get it. And now,
exactly.
Now we're going to be able to say anybody in any marketplace in Florida is going to be able to walk to a Walgreens and buy the stuff, especially around colleges and youth-oriented places.
And anyone that can use Google can find this product and buy it nationwide. Yes. So, you're developing a nationwide audience already or fan base. And, on top of that, I think the issue that a lot of people have is, is the company diluting its outstanding share count to keep up with the convertible notes? And I think, the answer to that is this growth rate that I'm seeing in this company is so phenomenal, especially in the past 3 months, that, to me, I don't see any problem servicing your debts by the end of the year without any further dilution. Now, I know you're modest and don't want to go on record with that, but, you're really making some huge progress, and I think that progress is going to breed more progress. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think from the outside looking in, it looks like an explosion of good news. I've expected this. I'm frustrated that it didn't come sooner, so from my standpoint, I'm not shocked by it, but of course I'm looking from a whole different perspective. Clearly, the validation of our business model should be there now. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, as to the dilution, I think there's a couple of things. I was asked about, how the convertible notes are structured, and I tried to articulate that as best as I can. Dilution is a term that generally speaks to the addition of common shares in a business, and there's a further concept that most people forget about, and that is whether it's accretive or it isn't. If dilution is accretive, therefore the value of the earnings of the company are increasing on a per share basis, then there's nothing wrong with dilution. There's a whole bunch of shares outstanding in Microsoft and Google. But, I would love to perform as well as those guys did. So there's nothing inherently wrong with dilution, especially if you've got a growing company where you're not trying to maximize necessarily, squeeze every penny out of the earnings, but you're trying to grow the top line because that's where the value is. We have never used and will not use an equity line because we don't think it's fair necessarily for us to be able to sell shares to a new investor who has immediate ability to liquidate shares without having had to own them and take any market risk. All of our note holders have taken risk. They bought the notes. They sat on the notes. We've got over $4 million worth of convertible notes, and those people have bought and held for years. And sure, they sell once in a while, and when they sell, they convert, and then in theory, or technically speaking, that is, there are additional shares outstanding because when they convert the notes into the common stock, the number of shares goes up. There's just no doubt about that.
Sure.
But it's not happening in a reckless way. It's not happening in a way where the dilution is becoming problematic from my point of view. Obviously, we'd like to have had the stock price trading higher, so the dilution would have been less. But it is what it is. I can't change that. What I can do is build a value in a business that will right-side this capital structure and the share price so that all of a sudden the dilutive effect is minimized, and that's exactly why people are buying the stock, I would think, because they want the share price to go up.
I think that's right. And, Roy, your integrity is just top of the line, and I think that integrity speaks volumes in this particular trading environment where oftentimes you get companies where the CEO just doesn't have that integrity. And I've seen that in you and the dealings that you and I have had, and you know that I operate a business as well, and I really appreciate that. But I've got 2 more quick questions for you, and you can say no if you don't want to, but I'm just wondering, do you have any new flavors on deck for Phase 3?
Yes, we do. We haven't. We wanted to get these two flavors going. The chocolate and the vanilla first, but we have developed a banana flavor that is absolutely spectacular. And when the time comes that we're ready to introduce it to the marketplace, we'll announce it. We've developed a lot of flavors, quite frankly. We've tried all kinds of stuff. We've done variations of chocolates, mochas and things like that. And we even did a peanut butter flavor, which was really quite good. But we think that we want these products to taste absolutely excellent. And I appreciate your comments that they do taste good. I think they're remarkably good in light of the level of protein that's in them, and that they're shelf stable. And the banana is absolutely off the charts. The samples that we have done are extraordinary. So that'll be the next flavor that we introduce.
My 15-year-old son, he asks me almost every day, "Is Roy going to get the banana out yet?" He's very excited about the banana.
Well, if I get any extra samples, I'll send you some. But believe me, when he tries it, he's really going to be excited. This stuff is really good. It's like a mint julep.
I think so too.
Adam, what was your final question, or was that
question? On the website, it mentioned Vis Viva, your old product, that there might be a retooling of it or recreation, and that it might come out later this year as a functional premium dairy beverage. Is that still in the plans, or has that been nixed?
Well, it was nixed. We introduced Vis Viva because while I was having my experience with the Coke people, I learned that there was an explosion going on in the energy drink business. And when I first formed Attitude, I knew it was going to take us a while to develop the milk products, and I wanted to have a product on the shelves. And the energy drink business is far easier to get into, much less entry barriers. And I thought there was an opportunity for a healthy energy drink. So we created a brand and introduced a product, and it had a pretty strong following initially. We first launched it through Dwayne Reed up in New York City, and we had a lot of people like the product. But there were about literally over 400 new energy drinks launched the same year we launched Vis Viva. So at the same time, our capital resources diminished dramatically because of the crunch that happened. And so I wasn't able to market it to cut through the clutter, if you will. So we just pulled it. It was a spectacular product. It uses a very unique way, proprietary way of creating energy without the shakes, without the high sugar and high caffeine. So it's a product we'd like to reintroduce because we were very proud of it, but there was no way we could get critical mass, and we knew that the real opportunity for us was going to be in milk. So we shifted over immediately and realized we made a mistake and went after the milk. Well, thanks, Roy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Adam, thank you so much for being with us this evening. That was some great questions.
No problem. You guys have a good evening.
Hey, you too. Let's Mike, let's bring in one more caller.
Okay. Mike, you on?
Who, me?
Yep.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Hey, okay, great. Hey, terrific. Roy, how you doing?
I'm well tonight, thank you.
Roy, you don't remember me. We haven't talked much in the last 4 or 5 years, but I was on your conference call May 10th, 2005. And at that point, one of the issues was somebody said something about dilution. And at the time, I believe the issued and outstanding was around $60 million or something like that. And I believe somebody called in. They were whining and bellyaching because it had been raised a few million. And that day before, that was on the 11th, you put out a Q, as I recall. On the 10th, I bought the stock at 14 cents. And within a month, the stock was at 40. Within 2 months, it was at 80, and within 3 months, it was at $1.42, if memory serves me.
That's right.
Here's yeah, and you know, and so I'm the kid that asked the question about dilution. I'm thinking, I wonder whatever happened to that guy. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, let me ask you a couple of questions. Southland, 7-Eleven, okay, rather, I should say. Was that pre-Coke or not?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
In other words, you inked the deal with 7-Eleven. Was that was before Coca-Cola, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. What about Ralph's?
That was before too. That was a direct.
Okay.
That was a warehouse delivery system.
Yeah. Okay. What about Sam's?
Sam's was before as well.
Yeah. See, this is what people are not understanding. And of course, you're aware, obviously, of the mistakes that you made. You know what you did right. You know what you did wrong. But man alive, what's the chances of recouping some of those old distribution? I know JIT is quite different nowadays than it was 6 or 7 years ago, as you implied. But what's going to be involved for you for those guys to take another look at you?
Well, I had a pretty good relationship. You probably remember we did a lot of business with 7-Eleven. Matter of fact,
God Almighty, do I?
They came to us, and for those of you that are not clear on what we're talking about here, he's referring to Bravo back in the day, way before I started Attitude. And matter of fact, I think I remember that dilution question. I think I used the same analogy then about Microsoft, didn't I?
Yep, you sure
did. The guy was upset with me about that. He said, "Well, you're far from Microsoft," and he was right about that.
No, I remember it. I remember it like the back of my hand because I couldn't believe he was asking a question. I said, I understand, and it's an issue for people that don't look at investment grade pink sheet stocks. There are a few of you out there. There's just not a lot of them out there.
Right. That's right.
This is one.
Well, to answer your question,
interesting.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to answer your question before I forget. But the facts are, we still know all those people. We had a great relationship with 7-Eleven. We actually introduced a meal replacement that they wanted us to introduce. We called it Blenders at the time. Mm-hmm. About 2 years after we started Attitude, I had an opportunity to buy the brands, the trademarks that Bravo had that I had developed way back then, and we bought them, paid about $500,000 for them, but we thought that they were valuable. Bravo Blenders is one of them. So we're one day going to go down that road, as I mentioned earlier. But the facts are, we know all those guys, and the key is to not get ahead of our lights. What we don't want to do is get all kinds of national distribution, not have the capital to be able to support it and make it work, and have a failure because we didn't have the adequate sales and marketing support behind it. So we're trying to grow into our shoes here, and that's part of the strategy. We want to go up and down the East Coast first if we can, and certainly Florida's Walgreens is a big step in that.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot now. This will probably ring a bell as to who I am. What's the chances of investors getting a sample?
Oh, I've been sending samples out I did the same thing here that I did at Bravo. Anybody sends me an email, we'll get a sample.
Probably coming back to you a little now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you got a pretty distinctive voice.
I know. Okay, so we're on. Any investor can get a sample of the product, and you'll send it out.
You bet.
Okay, good. Roy, I wish you well. We're going to be with you, bud.
All right.
We don't need no stinking Coca-Cola.
Well, let me tell you what. As much as I learned about that, I'll tell you what. It sure made a lot of people a lot of money. I would, if I'm not saying I wouldn't do business with a big guy again, but I'd sure do it differently.
Yeah. Well, you knew you had to give up the farm to some degree. That was a given, But whenever they started raking you over the coals, and we could see it in the filings. Anybody that knows how to read a filing, it became obvious that it wasn't worth it. And so kudos to you for reloading and firing again, my friend.
Well, thank you. I can't believe you remember May 10th, 2005, but I do.
Oh, yeah. In fact, are you kidding me? I recorded the conversation because it was my biggest winner. I said, I can't believe some of the people they call into a conference call. Speaking of which, when are you going to have a conference call? Which, by the way, my way of thinking, any stock, any exchange, I don't care who it is, you've got the very best conference calls I've ever heard in my life, and that includes NYSE. NASDAQ, Amex, all of them. So when's your conference calls?
Thank you. You know what? You guys were so hard on me. I haven't worked up the courage to do them again yet. But
no, I'm not hard on you yet.
We'll probably start them after our K is finished. We probably got three or 4 months yet. The reason I haven't done them, quite frankly, is because I know people are going to ask me questions that I don't have a clue how to answer. You know, I just wasn't far enough along to be able to give any kind of guidance as to how things were going and how things were, going to grow. So I'm starting to get more comfortable about that, and we'll probably start it maybe when we release the K, if not certainly in the first quarter. Remember, we're on a March fiscal year.
Yeah. Thanks, Roy. Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you for calling.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Well, Roy, we've asked you a lot of questions. Is there anything I failed to ask you that you want to entertain or anything from that perspective?
I don't think so. I think, I've had a number of calls lately regarding the volume, and I have to say it's not clear to me why we're doing so much volume. I'm not used to seeing this kind of volume, comparison. That is to say, I ran a company that did this kind of volume before, but when you compare it to what we were doing a month ago, it's remarkable. And certainly from that volume, we've picked up a lot of new shareholders, and I'm excited about that. It's fun to see the currency trading again. And you got my commitment that I'm going to do what I can to get this stock up, because I don't like being down here any more than you do. So there is dilution that comes from that. It's inevitable, but it is not company dilution. If there's a point I'd like to make, it's that we are not selling shares to the public in these high trading volume days. If somebody's selling them, it's our note holders, and they have every right to do that, having held the securities for so long.
Well, from the high volume perspective, I just want to kind of note this. You have something very unique happening here, and a lot of it was like really accidental, but I think we all learned a very good lesson. When we did Stock Traders Talk did the stock spotlight, unbeknownst to us, small cap voice did their interview the night and then released that morning, and then you have extremely big players in the OTC and guys like Mikey and Rustler and those guys all converging at the same time. I mean, it's really quite an amazing thing to see. And, those, whatever individuals were controlling your stock for a while, we kind of, that entire event kind of just changed that. So it's, that's one of those weird things where everything just came together at the same time. But, Roy, phenomenal stuff. And, I really appreciate you going deep into some of that stuff that most CEOs would never even dare to even discuss, because it's, it's kind of like taboo in a certain way. I don't know why. It's, when you can be honest with shareholders and you can just be, hey, look, here's the deal. Your choice is now. And I'll give you the facts, and then you make a decision whether or not this is a company for you. But I think you do your shareholders justice and the potential investors that are listening to you. You're a guy I'd invest in, and I really wish you a lot of luck into the future. And kick ass, just really go out there.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. We really do try to be as open with shareholders as we can legally be, and I've been on the other side of the fence. I know what it's like to be an investor in a company and not know what's going on, and so we try to communicate as best we can. And he was talking about our conference calls. Believe it or not, when I was doing those back at Bravo, we would get, now granted this is post Coca-Cola announcement, so everybody was real interested, but we were getting over 600 calls. The first time we did a conference call after the Coca-Cola announcement, we had to call up the conference call company and have them triple the line exposure because we were running out of space. And people called me. I'll never forget one day we did a call, and the people from Coke used to listen to my conference calls, and I got a call from the CFO of Coke Enterprises that day, and he said, you guys got twice as many callers as we do on our conference call. So we did have a lot of participation, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and we had some real good times there, and I look forward to. We've got a far better product today than we ever had there, I can assure you.
That's great, Roy. All right, my friend, take care, and looking forward to having you on the radio show in a couple of months or so, seeing where you're at.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, have a good evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, that was Mr. Roy Warren, the CEO of Attitude Drinks, Inc., stock ticker ATTD.
Wow. I'm glad I made it a 2-hour show.
Did I go over the hour limit? I'm sorry.
A little bit.
Hey, look, I mean that's the fun to it. That is exactly the type of stuff that you want to do. I mean, your shareholders, it is what it is, guys. I mean, that guy pretty much laid it out there, and I may have dug a little deep on some of the debt questions and all that, but I think that's important. I mean, there's a reality to the fact that right now they are where they are, and now they're getting ready to venture at the Y of the road where they can at any day. I mean, they can go huge. I mean, did you notice? I mean, Russell sat there and said it right. Adam is the fact that he's very modest in the sense. Mm-hmm. Did you catch the product placement? His product is directly next to the Coke products. I mean, that takes years for people to get to that level.
Well, that, and he's going to be right up front in the Walgreens. So, I mean, like I know the Walgreens by me, they have a few coolers right there where you stand on line to pay.
Right.
And you get a lot of buying through that, just people standing there looking, like, what the heck is this, So that's always good to be. But very interesting stuff tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was really good. I threw a plug in there for Hoss. Hoss, you on?
Yeah, I appreciated that, Cop. You guys consistently degrade me night after night. My feelings get hurt basically every night, and that just gave me that boost that I needed, buddy.
No, that was really good stuff.
I have some meaning and some contribution to this show. No, that was a fantastic interview, and I don't think you can go deep enough into the financials and how the company's raising their money, different things like that. And I mean, that's something that every shareholder should know about a company that they're involved with. That should be the number one thing that they should be doing their DD on first, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But no, fantastic show. Great job. And thanks to the Wrestler and Mikey for calling in. Those are awesome questions. I'm sure every shareholder who's been around the stock, had similar questions. So you guys were helping them out too. Thanks a lot.
I just want to say for the record that you have heard on Stock Traders Talk the edge of stock radio. Somebody go, golly gee, oh my. Was that Mikey that sat there and said that? Did you catch all that?
Yep.
That was awesome. I'm like, whoa!
For those that missed any portion of tonight's interview, which was approximately 60 minutes, we will have a recording of it up on the iHub boards on video under market commentary, approximately 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. So you can listen to it in its entirety. Coming up on Stock Traders Talk Radio this week, tomorrow, Stock Spotlight. Wednesday, I have the day off, so I'm all confused what day it is. Wednesday is SATM, S-A-T-M, and Thursday another Stock Spotlight. Guys, you want to take a little commercial break?
Sure.
What better commercial to play than ATTD? We'll be back after these words.
When you feel that vibe and you see everybody look around and you know what time it is and you know what they're about, but you think about your swimming, how well you swim, and then you know there can only be one champion.
You give a little warm up in, and then the coach calls it out, and boom, it's on, and it's intense, and it's precise, and it's challenging, and it's breathing and timing and rhythmic.
Made with real milk, this is the real deal. I'm the Gold Phase 3, it's a perfect meal. Decrease muscle breakdown, maximum hydration. You need this to prep for your athletic mission. Recovery is the secret of the pros. Your body breaks down with every pedaler's stroke. Continue on the journey, onward, upward, alone. Recovery decides whether you win or get smoked. We know lifestyle you chose up at 4 a.m. Racing for a win in some faraway land. Reach for the finish line. You know you can't quit. Rebuild and rehydrate with this protein that's liquid. Made free real milk, this is the real deal. On the go, phase 3 is the perfect meal. Decrease muscle breakdown, maximum hydration. You need this to prep for your athletic mission. Made with real milk, this is the real deal. On the go, phase 3 is the perfect meal. Decrease muscle breakdown, maximum hydration. You need this to prep for your athletic mission. Phase 3 protein, phase 3 protein. About to conquer all my dreams with this liquid protein. Phase 3 protein, phase 3. About to conquer all my dreams with this liquid protein. Phase 3.
Phase 3 is the first 100% real milk recovery drink. It hydrates. It has twice the electrolytes of Gatorade. It's phase 3 for the whole family.
Phase 3.
Welcome back to Stock Traders Talk Radio. I'm your host, STT. Joining me on tonight's program, I have Haas, Ifakia, and Hans. Everybody make it back with me.
Back with you.
Fantastic. Okay. Some good stuff we just heard from ATTD. Very in-depth, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty thorough. It was over an hour.
It was over an hour. Get some.
Just kept on going, and it was so good. I didn't want to stop it. It was like, it was good stuff.
Just so you know, I opened up 55 email addresses so I could request 55 milk.
Oh, nice. Nice.
See, buddy, I like that.
Yeah, baby.
Not a bad idea. That's pretty good that he'll do that.
I got a few myself, Mike.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
He's all about the free samples.
Samples.
Well, I'm fortunate because I have a Walgreens right down the street from me, and I live in the great state of Florida.
Nice. He's shipping tomorrow.
What's that?
He said he's shipping tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be ready. I'll check that out. Okay. Guys, it's been a long 2 days for us. I'm happy for all the listeners out there. Hopefully they heard what they needed to hear tonight. We had a big interview yesterday, another big one today, another big one coming up Wednesday, and possibly a big one Thursday. We're still working on that one. We'll see how that comes out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to call it a show.
Yeah, I want to give a plug because there's somebody out there that's doing all kinds of cool stuff for me and for Stock Traders Talk. And those of you that know Chasing Stars does all our video charts, and that's the only guy we use, and that's the only guy we're ever going to use. So, he does a phenomenal job at that. And I just for those of you out there in the iHub world, if you want a chart done, that's a guy to talk to.
Yes, it is.
Chasing Stars, very good. All right, from all of us here at Stock Traders Talk Radio, to all of you out there in the listening audience, we wish you the best of luck in your trading tomorrow and in the future. We'll be back on the air tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Stock Traders Talk Radio, and we are done.
Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio. All views and topics talked about on Stock Traders Talk Radio is solely for entertainment purposes. We are not professional financial advisors and always recommend you seek the advice of a professional financial advisor. Never invest in any stock featured on our show unless you can afford to lose your entire investment. The information contained on our show is based on sources which we believe to be reliable, but is not guaranteed by us as being accurate, and might not be a complete statement or summary of the available data. Stock Traders Talk Radio advises that the investments in companies profiled are commonly considered to be high risk, and use of the information provided is at the investor's sole risk. Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio.